Truly delighted to have you on Richard Mwenja Exclusive, the only show that gives you 360 degrees coverage on matters, politics and governance here in Kenya, and the first of its kind. Welcome on board. Such a privilege to have your company with us. And today we advance conversation shaping Kenya's political and governance landscape. And who better to help me bring such conversations home than this renowned firebrand, Cherengani's biggest export, Honorable Ruto Arap Kirwa. How are you doing today, sir?
Very well, I thank God for it, and I'm happy. When you mention Cherangani, it evokes some bit of emotion. I served them for 20 years.
Nostalgia.
Yeah, no, a lot of nostalgia. And they are good people.
For 20 years, you are their MP.
I was the MP for 4 terms. After me, none has done more than 1 term, consecutively. Don't you realize that those people are kind to me?
They were very kind.
Yeah, very kind to me. Yes.
Is it that, did you serve for all that while because maybe you are playing the psycho-fancy style of politics, being by the president's side, so that you survived all that time?
Was the other way around. You know, the people of Trans Nzoia generally are people who are democratic. They believe in democracy. And any time you are seen to be at variance with the status quo, they're happy with you. But when Moi left town, now was exposed because I used to hit at this regime. You make one headline story, you disappear for 1 month.
And then you come back.
You come back.
Hibernation and back.
Yes, what you do, what I call is political consolidation. You see, when you make a lot of mileage in politics, consolidate the gains that you have already earned. Otherwise, if you are all the time in the headlines, you run the risk of being too much, so and people run away from you.
So for any young MP, there's need for them to strike an equilibrium.
Strike an equilibrium. For every gain that you make, consolidate. It is like when you get some money, you invest. And when you invest in a project that will give you some little income as you enjoy the investment, so that you have something at the end of the day. At times, many of us, when we get our first money, we buy a car, which is not an asset. It's a liability. You build a house, perhaps you will only be saving for the house that you're staying in. But if you are to do a commercial building, you will get more money, and you can even go rent a house. You don't have to own one.
You have mentioned about the need for legislators to know when to strike hard and when to retrieve.
Yep.
And particularly, let's narrow down to 3 young legislators who many believe they have a brighter future ahead. That is Kapseret Member of Parliament Oscar Sudi, Kimani Ichung'wah from Kikuyu constituency, and Didmas Barasa from Kimilili constituency. This far, we are seeing them taking a front row seat when it comes to Gachagua's ousters, the DP. They are literally spearheading that impeachment call. For these 3 gentlemen, what would be your word for them? Are they on the right track, and are they punching with a tone that is right?
Well, it depends on where they come from. Perhaps Kapseret, Member of Parliament Oscar Sudi, is playing to the gallery. That may be the politics that the local community may prefer. For Kimani Ichung'wah, is actually playing with fire. He's dealing with the dangerous issues. Because in the Mount Kenya region, this impeachment is very unpopular among the people.
It is?
Yeah, it's unpopular. Unless somebody does not listen to the ground. It is very unpopular among the people.
Despite many of their MPs supporting this impeachment?
They are already developing cold feet.
Barely a week?
Well, I'm told for anybody to sign in, you get 300,000.
300,000?
Yeah.
For an MP, a paltry 300,000?
Yeah, because you see, you sign and you say, okay, we can deal with the issue after that.
But that would be stooping too low.
But you see, they are doing it for the main guy.
Who could be this main guy?
Their boss, who appointed Kimani Ichung'wah the majority leader. It's not members of parliament who elected him.
Are you trying to signal that the architect of Gachagua's doom is none other than President William Ruto? Is the chief architect?
It could not have happened without him giving them tacit or direct approval.
But it could be his close kitchen cabinet.
But the kitchen cabinet, they are in the kitchen with you, and they know the extent of the heat. Why are they playing with fire? Impeachment is dangerous politics in Kenya. Whether it's Kawira Mwangaza or Rigathi Gachagua, you make somebody more popular than the case.
But remember down memory lane, and you were there, we had total men, the late Biwott, we had very powerful gentleman, Njonjo. And these are people or men who could make decisions even without the knowledge of the president. Don't you think that the president also could not even be aware of who is literally spearheading this thing?
Well, the current president all the time, his hands are on the deck. So for anybody to say that he is not aware of this, perhaps is trying not to tell us the truth or does not know the extent of the dynamics inside Kenya Kwanza. Yeah.
This far we have seen Busia Senator Okiya Omtata say, much as we are talking about impeaching Gachagua, the bigger change will come should we drain the entire swamp, impeaching both the president and his deputy, literally kufa makanga, kufa dereva. Do you think that there is an iota wisdom behind Okiya Omtata's argument?
Well, perhaps I only agree with him to the extent that both of them may have some share of misdeed in terms of political arrangement. But I never believe in impeachment. I think what we should do is to prepare Kenyans to give us a new team, or if they are still happy with the current team, we continue. Because we cannot be talking of democracy and we are bringing other processes which are actually shortcuts to democracy. Not every impeachment is done following the due process. Some of them, they take shortcuts, like that of Waititu. The guy is impeached before long, his deputy has been sworn in as a sitting governor. And he goes to court, it's already, the horse has bolted. The same thing with Songo. He was messed up. The same impeachment. Wambora went through, but he was able to sustain for almost 2 terms. So impeachment at times is not done in terms of democratic following or following democratic principles, and also not following the legal process. It is done politically. And anything that is done politically is full of negative undertones. Yeah.
There are quarters who believe that the impeachment that is now fronted, the way of Rigathi Gachagua, could be just but a decoy deployed to distract us from the real issues concerning Kenyans. The JKIA takeover, Adani penetrating the health sector, the energy sector, and other issues that we are crying off economically. Would you say that this could be just part of pedestrian politics to distract us from the real issues as Kenyans?
Where it has reached has gone too far. It cannot be said that a deputy president can answer his boss the way Rigathi Gachagua has been answering the president. The thing has gone too far. There is hostility between the two gentlemen. There is animosity among their supporters and their core teams. And therefore, it is not anything that we can imagine that they could be doing this for a show. No, they are doing it because there is no love lost between the two. Yeah.
This far, we have seen some other quarters try to come in just so to mediate the situation, or at least to salvage from it catapulting into irredeemable damage. And one of those gentlemen is none other than Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka. But there are quarters who are saying, case in point, William Kabogo, former governor of Kiambu, he's asked Kalonzo to back off, saying Mount Kenya issues do not need his intervention. For Kalonzo Musyoka, should he just keep off this issue about Gachagua's impeachment?
Gachagua's impeachment is a national issue. To imagine that impeachment of a deputy president is supposed to be limited only to Mount Kenya, for me is naive. And also it behoves the character of any individual to realize that at the level of deputy president, you are no longer a local leader. You've gone across various regions because, as they say, you are a heartbeat away from the president. Now, the second issue is that also people are worried that they should there be rapprochement more between Kalonzo and Rigathi, that will spell doom for many political pundits that may be coming from Mount Kenya region or any other part of the country. Because the current support the former vice president has, and the current support of the deputy president around home and elsewhere is likely to go beyond 50% plus 1 vote. And therefore that spells doom for some of the politicians in the region. So it could be said this is siblings rivalry. They are fearing that Kalonzo coming in may either enhance Kalonzo's chances or enhance Rigathi's chances of scaling the political ladder. Yeah.
And would you advise Kalonzo Musyoka to cash in on this fallout between DP Ruto and his boss just so to prepare himself to take over in 2027?
DB Rigathi or Ruto?
For Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka,
Yeah.
would you advise him to cash in on this spat between DP Rigathi Gachagua and Ruto just so to prepare his strategy in 2027?
You should get involved to the extent of us asking for better democratic consideration, but not to imagine that you are going to inherit that constituency. You know, tangible votes come the hard way. Today, we don't know what will happen between now and January. Many things will have happened that some of the arrangements today that you think this is a winning combination might be obviated by events that are beyond us. This therefore means we have to be careful when we are making certain political decisions and considerations. What is required is for the current opposition to be together, to get better organized. Because even as it is, the current regime is at the weakest point. The only thing that we need to do is to be better organized. So William Ruto winning will not be because of his popularity. It will be because of the disorganization of the opposition.
Rightly put. This far we are seeing Githunguri Member of Parliament Gathoni Wamshomba not only spilling the beans of the agreement between President Ruto and DP Rigathi Gachagua when they were taking power, but he's also going the Rigathi side, literally supporting Rigathi, and actually going hard on anyone who is supporting this impeachment. Why do you think MPs who are even going bare knuckles on Rigathi are now supporting him? Case in point, Gathoni Wamshomba.
You know, in politics, they say public opinion sympathizes with the underdog. Today, if there's any underdog in politics, arrangement between the current president and the current deputy, the underdog is Rigathi Gachagua. The second reason Wamshomba also is somebody from grassroots, and she does understand that there is a lot of sympathy for Rigathi, and that sympathy can be translated into tangible votes depending on how you play around with it. So the third issue perhaps is also crying for democracy, because anything that you do to go against or counter democracy is something that we should not invite to our country, because we should be increasing this democratic space each and every other day, so that today and the next year, the things that change in between is towards better democratic institutions and better acceptance of the realities. And one of the realities is that you cannot be the best in everything. All the time as you get into a game, there is number one and number two. And even number two, if respected, may be number one another day.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. I was talking to a member of parliament from Mount Kenya who is allied to the Kenya Kwanza government the other day, and he was telling me that part of their plan is in the event that they oust DP Rigathi Gachagua, that the new arrangement will see Kithure Kindiki become the DP, majority leader of the National Assembly will now be Ndindi Nyoro, and now Kimani Ichung'wah takes over the CS Interior position. What do you make of this new arrangement?
I'm worried. I don't see that being a stool that has the requisite three legs.
It won't be a tripod stool?
No. It is just going to be just almost playing around with the same guys. Because Ndindi Nyoro has his own credentials. He can make a good majority leader. Kimani Ichung'wah, yes.
CS Interior.
It can be CS Interior. But what is the value added in that particular arrangement? They are better off with the current situation. Otherwise, they will have weakened themselves, because some of those MPs may not come back. So perhaps Kimani Ichung'wah is running away from ostensible defeat back at home. So he wants to be a CSO that is not running in Kikuyu. Otherwise, I've never heard him make any serious statement against Rigathi in his own constituency, because that's a measure of the popularity of an MP.
So some of these MPs who are fighting Gachagua hard could be living on their last straw of political oxygen.
Yeah, they are living on borrowed time. They are living on borrowed time because, in fact, they are doomed either way. If there's about the impeachment of Rigathi, the mountain will shift to another new arrangement. If they don't do it, Rigathi has given them some kind of timeline to comply with this way of thinking, that anybody who is not with him by Christmas must realize these days are numbered in parliament or in any other political position. So this is something that worries me every day. They are doomed. But I would prefer that the two, the president and his deputy, reconcile for the intervening period. 2007, they can go separate ways. It doesn't matter. Yeah, 2027. They can go separate ways. But we are wasting a lot of resources. Because listening to Rigathi Gachagua the other day on TV, I realized there are many projects of his which were funded by the government that are getting frustrated by the same regime, which defeats the purpose. Why start a project then frustrate it?
Lastly, in the interest of time, we have seen Jubilee Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni dismiss claims that the Kenyatta's institution or rather family forgave DP Rigathi Gachagua over the insults he hurled at the family during the campaign time and also the Kenya Kwanza administration. Would you say for Jeremiah Kioni is kicking a man who is already down?
No, the simple issue is that this is siblings rivalry. You know, Jeremiah Kioni, I'm sure his scion comes from Nyeri. So they're rivaling each other with Rigathi. Because should Rigathi grow, his image may diminish. So, and why talk about the Kenyatta family? He should have left the Kenyatta family spokesperson to say as a family, we don't have that information. The fact that he's the Secretary General of Jubilee does not make him part of the Kenyatta family. They should leave Kenyatta family alone. This is the home of retired president, who is the home of the late president, Jomo Kenyatta, with the matriarch called Mama Ngina, who is in her 90s and should be left at peace to deal with the issues of the day and deal with her grandchildren. But why invoke that family's name all the time? At the right time, they might run one of their own. Yeah.
Lastly, sir, and this is something that would be unfair for me not to mention on the show before I leave. You've mentioned of our president being a dictator in the making, or at least one. Already a baked dictator.
You've never seen.
All right.
Yeah. What are the signs of a dictator? Very impatient. He prays at the beginning of the meeting and he prays at the end of the meeting. You know, those are signs of a dictator. A dictator does not have time for mediocre thoughts. Any thought that is at variance with his position, he rubbishes.
But you've mentioned that dictators are quick to emasculate democracy.
Yes.
But very recently, the president, while on his US tour, was there with Ford Foundation leadership and applauding them for investing in Kenya's democratic space. Wouldn't you say that this is a person who has met his Damascus moment and the president now walks the talk on improving our democracy, much as you're castigating him for what we are seeing right now?
But what was he saying before? Isn't he the same person who said that Ford Foundation, it was Ford Foundation, it is now Rigathi, it is Uhuru family.
Commercial activists.
Commercial
Boniface
activists.
Mwangi and all.
Yes, Boniface. Now even Ford Foundation, only for him to be told, even Rachel has benefited from Ford Foundation. So anything William Ruto says, please take it with a pinch of salt.
So that on the...
He says what is convenient. Even the statement he was making at UN, it was very clear that he's saying what he does not believe in.
But it was a moving speech, that one, a moving address.
Well, I don't know who moved. I didn't move.
So would you say that that was a failed PR stunt, embracing Ford Foundation leadership there during his tour?
You know, say what you believe in. Yeah, if you don't believe in it, don't say it. You know, there is a choice of words. And you know, dictionary has so many words you can use. And at times you can tell somebody about good things without necessarily making sure that you contradict the position you've held. That is the challenge that we have. Yeah.
Very well, there you have it. That point takes us to the wrap of today's conversation, discussing a plethora of issues in the world of politics and governance. But it would be unfair for me to exit the stage without bringing on board this insightful segment that is Heroes Corner with Honorable Kipruto Arab Kirwa. Waziri,
Yeah.
today, who graces this episode as our hero or heroine for the day?
The least expected person.
Who is?
Yoweri Kaguta Museveni.
The president of Uganda?
The president of Uganda is my hero.
Really?
Because he has been able to turn that country from a situation of Idi Amin, situation of dictatorship, to a country that, though he may not be a democrat of any high standards, has brought sanity to the country, normalcy, and has allowed people to go back to work. He has done a lot, apart from the liberation struggle that he always talks about. He's also a good thinker. There are many nuggets of wisdom that I draw from him about how society should behave, how people should go on in terms of national discourse, and many other things. And at that age of 80, born 1945, is a man to respect. Well, other people were bringing motion in parliament the other day that he must be subjected to mental and physical health checks. But I say, you are as good as your capacity. Once you reach what we call internal limit, whether you are 40 or 80, you will have reached your internal limit nonetheless.
And that's it.
And that's it. But I believe that he still got something to give to the people of Uganda. I only request him to allow smooth transition to new leadership.
To his son, perhaps?
Well, I don't know if his son is the option of the people of Uganda. I don't mind. But there are many other Ugandans who are so good that they can take over from him. Any good person, any good leader, even in management, there is what we call succession plan. And succession plan means you prepare people to take over from you with seamless transition, so that even those who come after you do not disrupt the processes of change in society. Because the only thing that is constant in society is change. All the time. It changes, and once it has changed, it will change again.
But what's your word for those who are quick to believe that Yoweri Kaguta Museveni is just but a latter-day Idi Amin Dada, but one who wears a suit?
Well, it's not about the suit, it's about the mind. When you listen to him, you realize he has nuggets of wisdom. He has also the patience an African leader ought to have. And he understands society better than Amin. Amin was a political buffoon who just happened to have come to town because he had dealt with the Africans here in Kenya.
Political buffoon?
A political buffoon.
That is the best you could afford for Amin Dada?
Even to mention him is just giving him a lot of credit and airtime he does not deserve.
All right.
Yeah.
But you feel there is so much that Africa owes to Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, if not Uganda?
If not Uganda, there is a lot to draw from him. His behavior may be different to the people of Uganda, but I can assure you, in the absence of Museveni, Uganda will not be the same. Whether the son takes over or any other person, it will not be the same.
There you have it. Our hero for the day has been none other than the President of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. And that's why we take this show to a wrap. Engage me on X and on TikTok. I'm at Mwenje Richard across all social media platforms, including the two that I've mentioned. Find Heshimo on his social media platforms as well at Kiro Official. And thank you so much for slating time for this particular edition.
It's also my pleasure.
Many people are warming up to our productions, particularly this show.
Yeah, that's very good, and I just wish them well. And they should think about this country. I feel our country is at a very dangerous time. There is too much hostility pervading the atmosphere of Kenya, and I'm worried that the worst may happen. Yeah.
As a community of Kenyans in Ontario, Canada, have asked that you visit them, at least to talk to them about the affairs of this country and what the future portends for them. Are you going to make that visit?
Organize a trip. I will go with you. Yeah.
As your PA?
As my PA.
All right.
But don't overreach yourself. Yeah.
Kabisa, kabisa.
Yeah, asante.
There you have it. Until we meet next time, enjoy the rest of your viewing. For us, let us have some tea here at this tranquil home